What's up, everyone? Welcome back to a special edition of the Monday Showdown Breakdown, where we have a two-team primetime slate. My favorite, little two-game action, Bobbywow.
It's good, man. This is as good as it gets.
I'll take it. Little two-gamer here. We got Chicago at Minnesota in one of them, Atlanta at the Raiders in the other one. Got a lot of weird shit in these two games. Couldn't get any crazier. And we're coming off of what I'm going to call was a victorious Sunday. Our heavy lean, I mean, come on. If you watched the shows last week, we were literally, I put myself out there on a limb, ridiculing the field. I got a lot of feedback on this that was negative, Bobbywow. Ridiculing people. Oh, I said, you're going to make Justin Herbert the chalk, a guy. We talked about this. A guy who had one good game all year, that's your highest owned? Oh, no, wait. We're going to put Kyler Murray in there. Another disappointment factory. Let's ignore the game between the Bills and then Detroit that was locked in to a monster score. Ignore it. Don't care. Going to play some Kyler Murray. Going to play a little Herbert. Well, guess what I saw in the DFS Army Discord at the end of the day on Sunday? I saw screenshot after screenshot after screenshot of 10x, 25x multipliers. It was glorious. So I'm going to call my buddy Cuz in here to introduce this show. Cuz, get in here.
Good morning! Got a Victory Monday!
That's right. Victory Monday, Bobbywow.
Victory Monday. Gotta
I
love
love
Victory Monday.
Victory Monday's the best. I hope everybody.
We need to savor these too, because this is we're in the final stretch here.
Yeah, there's only a few days left, and you know, unfortunately, Cohiba, Cooper killed me too.
He killed me too.
If this would have been $1 million Monday if he didn't disappoint the way that he did. I still had plenty of the other guys, but you know what? Naked Allen actually was fine once again. Yeah, Cooper sucked, but you know what? The rest of it was awesome. I had Goff stacks. I had 75% of my 150 lineups tied up in Goff and Josh Allen, and then the rest, couple little, still a little jammo in there just because for the brand didn't work out, but who cared?
Hiring for a new brand ambassador, it sounds like.
Yeah, we might need a new brand ambassador after you got benched last week. A lot of stuff, but we've got a two-gamer here, and I'm fascinated with this one because there's a couple of expensive spots, and then everybody else is super reasonable priced. We have some sketchy shit going on here, so we got to go through it all. All right, and we're going to go, the way I want to break this one down, Bobby, is I'm just going to go, we'll talk about these two games in an overview, okay, and then we'll get into position by position and just understanding this specific slate, two-game slate. I'm trying to see. Yeah. So first, I always like to look at just like ownership projections. So at the quarterback position, it goes Darnold and then Cousins and Caleb, and then slightly behind them, Des Ridder. It's an interesting situation because if you look at these teams, there's only two quality running backs between the four teams. Like brand name running backs. There's only two.
Yep.
That's already concerning. Like who the hell's, is it Swift? What's going on with the Bears? Like, I don't even know who their running back is right now.
It's Swift, but he's been banged up and it's been really impacting him snap wise, production wise. So, based on that, yeah, I agree. You really got Bijan and Aaron Jones here that are the two safest, most name recognizable running backs. That's it.
Both of these games have anemic totals, 43.5, 44.5. Then if you look at the teams, it's very similar. The Raiders set at 19.5. The Bears set at 18.25. And with the favorites each set at about 25. Hard to differentiate. We're going to encounter some Bijan chalk. We're going to have to figure out if we're going to just eat it and move on, or if that's a fadeable chalk spot. So we got a lot to break down here, Bobbywow. What do you think?
Yeah, I think just as I'm looking at this from a whole, just to kind of share what goes on in my brain is I see the totals. We'll see the ownerships and the projections here in a second. This just reinforces the fact that anything can happen. Like anything can happen times 2 on this slate. Look how evenly spread that is. So, just remember, anything can happen. That's the way I'm diving in here.
Yeah, anything goes in a 2-game slate. Surprises will happen. We also have some dynamics from previous games between, at least with the Bears and the Vikings. They have played already once this year, and we have some ideas for some potential things that could happen.
Yeah.
So let's break it all down and get started with this thing. I want to actually take a look at the matchup sheet for these teams, and just especially, it's mostly Chicago. I'm trying to figure out really what has been going on with these running backs. So let's see here.
It's Swift. I'm telling you, it's Swift, but he doesn't look right. He's not healthy.
What? Yeah, it's been all Swift. 79% of the snaps, 60% of the carries. What is this Darrington Evans last week? Did he get some looks for some reason?
Yeah, they elevated. I don't know why people, we've had it the last couple of weeks. People have been talking about Travis Homer in the chat.
Yeah, I just heard Homer. Is it Darrington Evans that's sort of the backup at this point?
I don't even know that you could say that, but I think the moral of the story here is it doesn't matter. These guys kind of stink.
Yeah.
So Roshan Johnson's out. He would have been, a legitimate candidate to play, but without him, Travis Homer was brought in with the offensive coordinator that's now gone, with Shane Waldron. So I don't know that either of these guys stand out. But yeah, it just kind of Swift's health has been making everything murky. Yeah.
So looking at the rest of this Chicago team, I mean, there's nothing turdly about any of this. It's 92% Cole Kmet at tight end. It's and does not always even get a target. He is very sketchily used. Then you've got the 3 wide receivers, the 3 big names, all pretty much almost equal in target share on the season. A little slight nod to DJ Moore overall, but very minimal. Very minimal. So we kind of have a pretty good idea of how Chicago's going to act.
Yep.
Viking side, let's take a quick look here and see what we could figure out. So at running back for the Vikings, oh, you know what it is? They changed his name. Aaron Jones added a senior.
Oh, that's right.
To his freaking name, and now he's not showing up on the damn tool. Guys, this is the annoyance of running these kind of tools. Like they change letters on somebody's name, and now it doesn't line up. But we know that Aaron Jones is the primary guy. Cam Akers and Ty Chandler kind of been working their way in, but mostly Cam Akers now as the backup. Cam Akers even got a couple of carries last week.
Yeah, I don't know that Ty Chandler he didn't play or didn't get any snaps.
Yeah, he did not get in the game. So, but he's not hurt. I don't think there's anything wrong with him. They just almost like soured on him for some reason, which is weird.
Yeah.
At wide receiver, the big story I would say of lately is just how Jordan Addison has stepped up. Look at this 42% target share last week. Jordan Addison has been stepping up in the last few weeks, and at the expense of Justin Jefferson. But it looks like in the Turdley area of the wide receiver group, it's just Naylor, that WR3, and then a couple of garbage guys in Sherfield and Powell.
Yep.
Hawkinson and Oliver continue to kind of split work share. I tend to think that the Hawkinson snaps will continue to go up each week as he continues to recover from what was a fairly long-term injury. And Hawkinson is definitely the preferred pass catcher. How are the Bears against the tight end position?
The Bears are not good against opposing tight ends. Right. This could be a spot where Hawkinson could put up some points. I do think, Josh Olivier, as you say, is playable as like a super turd punt in MME just because he's so cheap. But yeah, Hawk's going to get a ton of targets. The other guy that loves playing the Bears is Aaron Jones. He's since he played for Green Bay, he's always feasted on the Bears defense. So Those are the two first spots I'm looking.
Jones is like the chalk. To understand, it's Bijan, Aaron Jones, and then a bunch of names that don't.
We've got Sincere McCormick chalk. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Jones and McCormick are almost the same owner. It's just ridiculous. Yes.
Yeah, and the fact that McCormick, we're now playing McCormick too, a guy who no one heard of before last week, is interesting. All right, so let's check out the other game here. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, Las Vegas and Atlanta. So we got the Raiders and Atlanta facing off. Raiders, I don't even know how to make of it. It looks like they're going to roll out Des Ridder at the quarterback position. You know, it's revenge narrative because he did play for Atlanta last year. That means nothing. I think this Sincere McCormick fellow is the starting running back, Bobbywow. Even with the return of Madison, I don't think he's the guy. I think they're going to stick with Sincere McCormick.
Yep, I agree. I think the field would agree as well.
Kind of weird, but yeah, they like McCormick. Fine. Madison back healthy, but not really getting any work as of last week. Amir Abdullah became an afterthought. So, it looks like Sincere McCormick will be our starting running back in that one. Everybody knows what Brock Bowers has been doing. I do think it's noteworthy, and some of the people here in the chat are mentioning it. Bowers and Michael Mayer last week, 80% snaps. Meaning what, Bobby? What does this mean?
We got some double tight ends. We got some limited wide receiver sets. You've got, Jacoby Myers as really the primary target and Trey Tucker. Otherwise, it's very turtly wide receiver wise.
Xanders, we will talk some FanDuel, and quite frankly, I'm actually playing this more on FanDuel than DraftKings tonight. As of right now, like I like FanDuel for these two game slates. So yeah, we'll talk about it. But they play almost exactly the same today. Both sites did something similar with the salaries, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But can we trust any pass catchers? Like I think it's really important to understand that Des Ridder, he's very mid. He's not very good, Bobbywow. I don't know if he's good enough to deliver a good game for Brock Bowers even.
Yeah, look, there's a couple things that I'll say about that. Number one, I know we disagree on this, but it's hard to get worse than AOC. So that's one thing. Number two, talked about he's up against Atlanta. I think that's a thing a little bit, even though he stinks. And number three, this is a quarterback that is far and away the cheapest on the slate if salary does end up mattering. And he's a guy that can run the football a little bit. Last season, there were several games where he had 6, 7, 8 rushing attempts. He scored 5 rushing touchdowns. And I think that's intriguing for, a couple of reasons. But look, I'll have some Desmond Ridder on the slate. There's no doubt about it. Like, you have to have exposure.
Atlanta's so bad that maybe, Des Ridder can have a good game.
That was the other thing. Atlanta gave up, Sam Darnold's explosion last week. They are really, really, really... They look horrible, Atlanta, lately. Yeah,
no, it's Des Ridder. Every quarterback is in consideration. In the notes you see, I'll shift gears to this other thing. But the only last thing I wanted to mention was Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, and they don't even play anybody else at wide receiver. It's just those two. So they've effectively made Brock Bowers their WR1, with Myers effectively operating Jacoby Myers acting as the WR2, Tucker as the outside man, WR3 deep ball guy, and then actually Michael Mayer is functioning as the standard tight end on this team.
Yeah,
that's what they have going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so AOC is questionable. He's a game time decision, but the coach has said they're going to start Ridder either way. So I think Ridder will get the start. The other piece is Madison was out last week, so he's finally fully practicing and returning tonight. The coach said that McCormick would be the starter, but McCormick isn't very good as a pass catcher. So we could see Madison filling in as kind of that change of pace, third down back, which if Las Vegas falls behind, that could be significant too. So you probably want a little bit of Madison exposure if you're running 150 lineups MME as well.
That's probably his best role.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get to the domination station. We'll go position by position, start really thinking through the slate here. The ownerships are not telling me a ton. I got to be, honest here. So we've got the QB ownerships loaded up here. Darnold is the most expensive, and he's going to be the highest owned. Let's see the props. For some reason, we don't have props projections on everybody, but Darnold is the highest owned, coming off the big week. But interestingly, he's going up against the Chicago defense that is allowing the fewest points per game to opposing QBs on the season. Is that real?
I mean, they get torched by the run, but at the end of the day, we saw these two teams play, a couple weeks ago, and I think we're going to see a very similar, kind of game strategy from the Bears defense here, which is don't let JJ beat you. They've got really solid number 1, number 2 cornerbacks that have locked down Amon-Ra, JJ, several WR1s here. And, I think that's significant. I think that does cap Darnold's upside a little bit. And it obviously elevates guys like Jordan Addison, who you mentioned earlier has been heavily involved.
Yeah. And I just want to go back and let's take a look. We can see what happened the last time these two teams met. Darnold had an acceptable, actually, I would call it a really solid score against Chicago of 24. I do already recall that Justin Jefferson had a terrible game there, only 2 for 5. So he did not do well. And it was, Jordan Addison who put up the monster number 33. And I even think, if I recall,
Hawk had a bunch of targets too, I believe.
Yeah. So Hawkinson also had a great game with a 21.
There you go.
So these two teams played already. And the result was Addison and Hawkinson shined. Jefferson was shut down. And that's how the game played out. We could look at Jones. Aaron Jones, you never know if he was healthy for a game. The guy's always hurt.
He played well. He always scores against the Bears.
Yeah, really good game
for
against
a touchdown.
The Bears as well. Okay, so Aaron Jones Sr. did really well. So if we think that we can look at what will be burdened by what has been.
Oh, God.
Burdened by what has been, then we should expect that group. Hawkinson, Addison, a little Aaron Jones. Doesn't matter. By the way, you're not cute by playing Aaron Jones. Everybody says you can't play anybody else. You're stuck with him. So Bijan and Aaron Jones, you're kind of stuck with them. But it looks like that could be how that goes for those guys. How about Caleb? Can't really judge too much Caleb Williams in a previous game, but he did smash in this spot.
He did. Now, I think some of this came toward the end of the game when it didn't feel like the Bears were in it. So that's is part of the story there. But look, the Vikings have been vulnerable to opposing quarterbacks and wide receivers. Their pass defense has struggled. So Caleb took advantage, and look, he's got nothing to lose here. The Bears are eliminated from playoff contention. They got rid of their coach. They got rid of their OC. I think this is going to be a free-flowing offense for the next couple of weeks, and that's a good thing for DFS players in terms of rostering some of these guys. So I think Caleb is a fine play tonight.
Totally in play. Yeah. Totally in play. There's nothing you could say here. He did fine against the same team, so why not again? Of course, Caleb has that downside, but who cares? If you're either winning the tournament or you're not. Like, there's no in between here. There's not.
To me, Caleb has. I know Sam Darnold exploded last week. I think Caleb has the highest ceiling on the slate of any quarterback here. I think Sam Darnold was far and away the safest, got the highest floor. I think Caleb has the highest ceiling, but I think all 4 are playable.
Yeah. As we continue through, I think it's noteworthy that Cousins' last good game, came like in the, in the first half of the season, effectively. And it's been a while since he's done anything. Just interceptions. These are not all tough matchups, Bobbywow. Like at the Saints, what's your excuse? At Minnesota, a really good team. So to score against offensively. So Kirk Cousins has been pretty bad, but you never know with this guy. He could turn it around.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He's been, I love that. The notes, fantasy fling, I think did the notes, and he put it perfectly. Cousins has thrown 0 touchdowns and 8 interceptions in his last 4 games. That is just not ideal.
It's a lot of interceptions. And then
he's always been kind of hot and cold though, right? He's 3 touchdowns and 4 touchdown games just before this horrible stretch. He had a big 4 touchdown game earlier in the season. It's up and very, very up and down, mostly down. But this, like you said, Kirk Cousins always has some potential to put up a good game.
And this is the Raiders. This is not a team that plays strong defense or any defense. So this is where that can happen. Like you can't, part of the reason you like Cousins is because he's up against the Raiders.
Yes.
Raiders are not a good defensive team. And so that's the kind of spot where even a mediocre QB or a QB that's been struggling can turn it around. We saw,
exactly.
Yeah.
And yes, Crosby's out for the season. So that's a huge hit for an already bad defense.
Yeah, rough spot for sure. So just briefly, it's a 2-game slate. And if we're focused on that, all of these quarterbacks are the kind of quarterbacks that you generally want to stack with 2. The exception might be Des Ridder. He can run for a touchdown.
Definitely.
I don't see too many reasons not to stack them all with at least 2 pass catchers. Outside of maybe Des could be like a stack with 1 situation. So you think about Caleb, you're really happy if you're playing him to have, 2 of those guys. If he's doing it more, Odunze, Allen, or Kmet, like 2 of those guys will probably be pretty good. It also kind of, when you do that, you contain sort of the damage of your lineup to kind of built around that 1 quarterback, which is helpful on a 2 game because 1 game could super dud. Would I go 100% on any of these guys in 20 max? Not the quarterbacks, I don't think, but definitely like other positions.
To me, look, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this too, Kev, but in 20 max, if you're trying to get different, it's not all in on at the quarterback position. It's not all in. I think you choose 1 to eliminate, and I think that 1 is probably Sam Darnold for me. And you increase your exposure to Aaron Jones. Maybe he runs a touchdown or 2 in. And then you're over the field on all 3 other guys. Yeah, he'll be probably 40%.
You want to win your 20 max? I'm gonna give you the secret. Go all in on Des Ridder. The least likely. And then accept that you're probably going to lose all your money.
Here's the thing, though. For me, this is the type of slate where there are multiple lineup builds that can, put up high scores. Maybe there's a build with Kirk Cousins that ends up putting up a high score. And Desmond Ridder, though, maybe there's a build because of his salary that puts up a similar score. So I really like the idea of trying to maybe get different by fading the top ownership. And I do think Darnold at 20 max will be 45% owned. So I don't know.
Yeah. And guys, to be very clear, like for those of you who are MMEing this contest, even in 150 max, there are spots where you can go 100%. Not the defenses here, Ricardo, but there are spots where I'll have 100%. I might just go 100% Bijan, for example, and just say, I might just go with it. It's such the better. Well, let's jump over to running backs. You'll see what I mean. So when I jump over to running backs, you can see here the names. Like, oh shit, this is sketchy, right? We only have 2 games to choose from. You got Bijan in this game against the Raiders, getting all the volume he's been getting lately. That to me is just like lock it in. But the only negative is, the field gets it, and the field is going to own him at 85%, as they should, because these other running backs are super sketchy, and even a bad game from Bijan is probably better than, a good game from Sincere McCormick, for example. Yeah. And by the way, that's right. Steve Smith's getting it. When you take chances and you do risks that could try to win you big tournaments on these lotto tickets, you have to go in accepting that you're more likely to lose all of your money, a lot more likely. But it doesn't matter. The one time you win, if you have the patience, makes up for all the losing. Now, if you can't play that style, then get in the Players Club with me on Saturdays and learn how to attack multipliers like all the Victory Monday celebrators here, who all printed $1,000 bills in the multipliers on Sunday on $27 entry. That's how you do it. You're not going to get there. You're not going to get that by, going milk toast in big tournaments. You have to take your chances. All right, running back. So Bobbywow, 85% own Bijan, and you say, oh, I want to fade that ownership. And then you see who the other running backs are. Aaron Jones, fine. Not exciting, but okay. And then Sincere McCormick, who the fuck is that? And DeAndre Swift, he's been terrible lately. And those guys are getting ownership. After that, you just have the backups. I actually think you're right. I think the Alexander Madison backup play might not be the worst move in the world here at 3% owned.
Absolutely. I'll have at least 10%, 15% exposure to Madison here. Sincere McCormick hasn't done anything. I know he's only been the starter for a couple weeks, but he put up 10 points last week. Like this is a guy that got 15 carries and scored 10 fantasy points. So I think Madison will have a role tonight. I don't know how big it'll be, but I do think he'll have a role. And the 42% ownership on McCormick that's projected, that's the thing that really is a flag to me. He's $5,100. He's cheap, but man, that is a chalky running back for someone who's touching the ball 15 times and not scoring any points with Madison coming back.
He's not getting targets, right?
He's getting a couple targets. I think he caught 2 passes last week, 1 pass week before.
No, he's getting target. You know what? This is not a bad profile. I'm not gonna shit on this is a fine profile. I get why people would play him, and I think he is, 15 carries to 3 target. That's fine, Bobbywow, for a running back. Like that's good volume. It's acceptable. Especially that was against Tampa, a team it's hard to run against. Or KC the week before. Both Tampa and KC are teams we don't attack with running backs normally. Now he gets Atlanta. There's no problem playing running backs against Atlanta. I actually think the Sincere McCormick play is good. Based on what I'm seeing here, I don't want to shit on this play. He's a better play. He's a better play, actually. If ownership was taken out of it, he's probably he is a better play than Madison.
Well, then what are we talking about? Yeah, of course he is.
Yeah. But
it's ownership.
I just want to listen, we get people are watching. The nuance doesn't always come through. I want to, I'm looking at what this guy has done and it's fine. 15 carries, 2 targets. Where did that come from? But okay. Now, again, Madison wasn't in the game. Will that continue this week with Madison there? That's the big question. And it might not.
And the other piece is, Des Ridder, he could sneak the football in. He could score vulture a touchdown here too. So I don't know, just there's a couple reasons for me why McCormick doesn't make sense as chalk. So I'll be underweight, but I totally understand what you're saying.
I'm not going to fade it. No,
I'll be underweight. I'll be underweight for sure.
There's too few running backs. For me, it's like, I think there's too few running backs on the slate. So you can't fade something like this. The volume is there. And I like what the coach is basically like, this guy earned his spot. And it's Antonio Pierce is one of those style of coaches that is going to actually care about, things like he earned his spot and this and that. So I think that's relevant. Let's see here. The cat either wants to go out or be on my lap. I can't tell.
Algier was the other one we should mention.
Yeah, the Algerian. The Algerian's going to terrorize Bijan owners by vulturing all the touchdowns. That could happen. Although they haven't used that Algier as much lately.
For example, with Algier, he outscored Sincere McCormick last week. Just put it out there.
Yeah, there you go. So
against the Minnesota defense, that's way tougher than anyone.
Yeah, he does find his way in the end zone. Algier is one of those. Yeah, at 4,500, you have the balls to just play Algier and one other guy. Yeah, I think that could be of interest. Let's see, wide receiver group. Let's shift gear here. And talk about the wide receiver. So, by the way, Swift is the least exciting option of them all. I don't know. Should we play Swift, Bobbywow?
Yeah, you should definitely have some exposure to Swift. Yes,
play a little bit of this. But man, has there ever been a guy who gets so much volume and just does so little with it? Sincere
McCormick.
Yeah. Well, again, I want to see Sincere in a good matchup. He had tough matchups. Let's see what he does in a good one. But again, he also
look at Swift, San Francisco, Detroit. He's again, it's just
that's fair. That's fair. Minnesota, Detroit, San Francisco. We weren't liking Swift going into those games either. It's not like you played Swift and you got burned. You knew not to play him. Let's see what's going on at wide receiver. So you'll see again, wide receiver is a tale kind of one guy and then the rest. Can you play Jefferson and Bijan in the same lineup? Does it work?
I don't know. That's what I'm curious about. I think that will change things.
if you're playing Jefferson, you almost have to play Darnold. So let's see what if I tried to make this happen.
You want Bijan, right?
You got to have Bijan and Aaron Jones. I'm just going to go like that to play kind of the baseline of how you'd want to play this. Probably play like Falcons defense there. 4K left. So
Yeah,
I mean,
so a salary will matter here. I do think it will matter.
If you want to play them both, it definitely does, because this forced me into like now. All right, where do you want to be?
You just told me you're going 100% Bijan. So
yeah, so it's Jefferson that won't really work with Bijan in the same lineup. Like, all right, you have him in there. You want to play Hawkinson, Jefferson, Darnold, Bijan, Aaron Jones, and from here, yeah, you want some pieces of this Chicago passing offense, and then you don't have enough money left for the last spot. So it requires to have them both in there requires basically very heavy punting at the wide receiver position. And the problem is there aren't any good pay down options at wide receiver. Nothing. You're talking Ray and Tucker, and then it gets after Tucker, and Tucker is a sketchy play in his own regard. It gets to be a disaster, and so there's no doing this. You'd have to go this way and then just punt a tight end in there in the flex, which is a disaster. So Mayer, actually, there you go. I got it done, but it's not pretty.
That's ugly. That is so ugly. But you know, anything can happen, right?
Not this. Not where Tucker and Mayer from fucking Las Vegas. Both.
See, that's why I think these lower salary running backs are in play. I think, you know, I will have significant exposure to both Algier and Madison. I think one of those guys could
or
Sincere.
Nuts. You're not a Sincere guy. You hate Sincere. You absolutely hate Sincere.
I love Sincere.
No, you don't.
I hate the chalk. I hate the chalk. It's silly chalk to me. That's all. If he ends up coming way down in ownership, I will smash him.
It's just
but
the two
chalk.
Game. Yeah.
My gosh.
Did they just like cut him? Did this just happen? Like Deontay got cut? That was a fucking nightmare. That was a nightmare for fantasy people.
Also, don't rule out the idea of having Bijan and Algier in the same lineup. I think that's interesting.
I think Bijan and Algier together is actually a really sharp play. I think that's one of the plays that we should be doing and should be purposefully forcing it, because people won't. And you just see time and time again, if Atlanta's beating up Vegas, and why wouldn't they? Right? That could happen. Then, look at how different this lineup looks if we remove Justin Jefferson from it. Right? So now we're going to put Addison in there instead. Now we can still kind of go with any old guy.
It's still tough.
Well, listen, you can get Algier in there. Now you still have to have a punt, but you don't have. So how do you get off the punt? So again, same approach, off of Darnold down to Caleb, double stack, right? It works.
And now you get your boy Sincere in there.
Yeah, you get Sincere, Madison. Well, I mean, your options are just much greater here. Even Odunze, triple stack. So, I like that. Actually, I'm putting this one in. I kind of like that. But
triple stack.
Yeah, triple stack. Why not? I mean, if Caleb is winning the course, it could be a triple stack.
Caleb could have run one in too. That's the only thing. But
so, with these lineup examples I just did, none of them had Brock Bowers in there. And Brock Bowers is somebody we really want. Oh, you want to get Bowers in there? How about a little Des Ritter to Bowers action? Switch it up. Switch this one up, right? Get Darnell out of there. I was going to try to get, if it's Des Ritter, you kind of almost want to get
Ray. There you go.
Throw Ray going. So, yeah. I think we found a few different approaches for this, Bobbywow. Defense.
It gets more interesting to me now that the salaries matter.
Yeah, they do matter a little bit. Again, I think you could play Bijan or Justin Jefferson, but when you play them both together, you would need to be really creative. There is a reason. So we didn't get into this, but the Bears shut down Justin Jefferson last time they played.
And they have pretty much throughout his career.
Yeah. So the Bears, when they play, these are divisional rivals. When they play each other, the Bears do have a plan for Justin Jefferson.
Now, could that change at Vikings at home? Sure, it could change, but that's been history. Yes,
but it definitely could change. The other reason being Addison torched them in the last game, and maybe they're like, all right, we need to switch up what we're doing because we got destroyed by Addison last game.
The Bears live with that. You know, we saw it. We saw it with San Francisco the week after with I'm blanking on his name, but Juwan Jennings.
Yeah,
this is how the Bears play defense. So
they want to take out your WR1. So now it's just a question of will they successfully pull it off? Because if you could fade Justin Jefferson, let's take a look at his ownership.
He's 50%, I think.
That's actually lower than I thought. But all right, so Justin Jefferson at 50% owned. If you could fade some of that ownership, that's a great way to get unique and different. And if he does have another turd, you will start with a massive advantage on the field. When you fade the $8,200 guy that duds, now Justin Jefferson rarely duds. He is not a Dudley wide receiver even throughout his career. He's been very consistent. Even if he hasn't have like those 35 pointers this season, he hasn't been dudding very frequently.
It's not so much the dud. It's just that, Jordan Addison has outscored him several weeks now. Jacoby Myers has outscored him several weeks now. DJ Moore can outscore him.
Yeah.
Drake London, that's the thing for me about JJ is there are capable wide receivers in this group here that could easily be the top scorer below JJ. So, yeah.
Guys, if you're enjoying this breakdown, do me a favor, take a moment, make sure you subscribe to the channel here, the DFS Army YouTube channel. I hear from a lot of you guys, like, I didn't see you post when a new video went up, or you didn't let me know. You got to be subscribed to the channel. It's a free subscription, Bobbywow. We're giving channel subs away for free, the YouTube channel. So get signed up, hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when our stuff comes out. And you can be in here for the lives and also whatever else we do here on the DFS Army YouTube channel. So make sure you are liked and subscribed and notified and all that good stuff. We appreciate you for doing that.
Just going to put this into the airwaves. Do what you will with it. Justin Jefferson's last 5 games. Okay. Last week, he had the big explosion against the Falcons. Prior to that, 16 points, 4 points, 14 points, and 10 points. So this is a guy that, he's solid, but he does have off weeks. And this is a defense that has already shut him down once. So
yeah,
I like the idea of being underweight here, but obviously JJ can go off. He's matchup proof for the most part.
There we go. I think that's the greater point. Justin Jefferson can get it done even in the worst match. That's why I don't care. I get the cornerback is good and all that. He can definitely get it done. The 50% ownership to the field is not a bad thing. It's probably about right. And it's, there's nothing wrong with that. But hey, if you're going to sack up and get crazy, that's one way. Just fucking don't play.
You don't have to go zero though. Like you don't have to go zero. If you go 20% versus 50, that's huge leverage, and you still got JJ just in case. But to me, limit JJ to your Darnold lineups, and then you can get a little bit different elsewhere.
Am I hand building for multipliers or using the DS for DK? I always hand build for multipliers, guys. That is not ever going to change. But I spend a lot of time paying attention to these players, so I'm like. I'm doing the handcrafting like I do on the Players Club with purpose, but you can use the DOM station for it too. I bet I'll show you right now. Hang on. If we just optimize this shit, we're going to get a really, Swift, Sincere,
Bijan,
Dez. All right. I don't know about that.
I think Dez is very capable tonight.
You think Dez is going to break the slate, Bobbywow?
I think it's not going to break the slate, but look, that guy's he's significantly cheaper than Darnold, and he's got some rushing upside, and the Falcons stink. Maybe he can put up 15, 16 points, 15 to 20 points. Who knows?
This is the prop-based projection. 2 wide receivers from Chicago. Bijan and Sincere. Interesting. Myers, sure. Brock Bowers, 2 pieces. This is a great little stack. This is actually a nice little Dez.
I love that lineup right there.
Yeah, this is the top props. So this is the top prop-based optimal, where the projection model is the prop-based projections.
I'm swapping Sincere out just because Desmond Ridder. It's unlikely he throws a touchdown to Sincere, but look, that's good. I like it.
I like it with the bringbacks of Bijan and Drake in that game. It's a nicely built lineup. The only negative here is the Bears defense. I don't really have a lot of faith in them, but I don't mind it. I don't mind this lineup at all. Kind of not bad. Let's see what the second one does. Oh, they got Swift in there. So yeah, it's going to be Sincere and Swift kind of if you're relying on the props. Let me look at this and see if these are real numbers. Yeah, they are. They're real props. So yeah, there you go. Real quick, tight end position, Bobbywow. 40% for Bowers, 32 on Hawkinson, then 20% on Pitts and Kmet, a little bit of interest in Mayer and Oliver, and I'm going to say that's about it.
Yep. Agreed.
Is there anything that we can glean from these tight ends to say, like, hey, let's go over the field on this guy?
The Bears stink against tight ends. TJ Hawkinson's firmly in play. Brock Bowers gets it done with Gardner Minshew and AOC. Certainly he could get it done with Ridder. So don't let that scare you off.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Bowers is going to be the number one target in this offense.
He is.
Yeah. Double tight end.
I think the field's going to try to jam in Bijan and JJ. I think that's going to be what the field does, especially as you get in a higher dollar or single entry. Those guys are going to be jammed in. So I think the alternative here is to go double tight end. You got, with Bowers and Hawkinson, or, Bowers and Kmet, Bowers and Pitts, Hawkinson and Pitts. I just think the double tight end here again, as it typically is on 2 or 3 game slates, is really intriguing.
You're not going to get, and this is a DraftKings strategy. Double tight end is much more something you might do on DraftKings and FanDuel, but you're not going to get any Kmet unless you force it. Like Kmet, listen, it's been a rough year for Cole Kmet, and he does not project very well compared to these other guys. Like Kmet is projecting for 6 on the prop as well, 6.6. Kyle Pitts, 6.8 on the prop as well. Hawkinson for a couple bucks more is at 10.5. That's his prop. And then Bowers, again, for another 2,000 is at 14.5 and 2.468. So these are appropriately fantasy points per dollar, 2.2, 2.2. All these other guys are at 1 3/4. Like it is Brock Bowers and Hawkinson, and the rest, and all the rest are like tournament turds.
The only thing I'll say about Kmet is he had 10 targets against Minnesota a couple weeks ago.
There you go. There's a reason if we need one, and we do need one.
He's got 30-point upside, but it happens two or three times a year. Otherwise, he totally torches your lineup and burns your house down.
Yeah. So. All right. Defenses, looks like everybody's playing Viking, and rightfully. Vikings is the best one, but Falcons, to me, it's Vikings and Falcons, and then, sketchy. Bears are
sketchy. Same as always for me. I'm mixing all of them in, probably relatively evenly.
Even Raiders? Yeah, you know what? Even Raiders.
Yep.
What if they have that game? Kirk Cousins has been terrible. Yeah, you got to mix them all up. I really do prefer loving a defense and being able to go like 40, 50%.
I can't.
It rarely works out.
Gives me the heebie-jeebies.
I got shit on in the comments for my video this past week, because I used Bengals defense in the first look. And I was told I was stupid and I don't know football and I should do something else for a living.
You know who my core defense was, or my top of my sheet? The Saints. You guys pooped on me for the Saints, and they smoked it.
What did
always
they get?
Look for value with defense.
What did they score?
They were like the min price defense. I don't know what they scored, but I think they scored really well.
Yeah, that's a win. Yeah, Kevin Carter, they ripped me in the comments about I don't know ball. Bengals defense isn't good. I was like, who cares? They're playing Will Levis. So in this case, the good defense of the group is Vikings. The Vikings are an actual good quality defense. If
Saints scored 9.
What's that?
Saints scored 9 as the min price.
And which is great, by the way, Bobby. That's a spectacular defense punt. I can't remember who they were playing. I'm like yesterday.
Washington.
Might have been a year ago. Yeah, I didn't like that. I like the Washington side of it, and Washington did not do as well as I thought they were going to do defensively.
It's the sacks. Jaden takes a lot of sacks.
Interesting. Yeah, that worked out. If you are using the Domination Station Optimizer, for this slate, you know that, yeah, you don't know ball. Like you don't know ball. I'm like, come on, bro. Yeah, I don't know. If you're using the domination station for this slate, one of the best things and most important things that you have to do for a 2-game slate is allow players to show up versus your defense. That is this option right here on screen. 2 or 3 versus defense is what you need. I'm going to explain why. We should not allow the choice of defense to affect our player pool choices to the extent that it does in a 2-game slate. Defenses are not that negatively coordinated with opposing offensive players. It's only minimal because the score on the defense is not coming from producing a 0. It's coming from turnovers, which, again, we've seen it all throughout. Turnovers don't matter. Offense gets back, pick 6, great. Offense back on the field. Don't care. So in a 2-game slate, you want to allow 2 to 3 defenses, 2 to 3 players versus your defense if you're going to use the optimizer.
I love it.
When you're handcrafting, you should not allow the choice of defense to wildly affect your picks at all. It shouldn't matter. You shouldn't have any problem playing a running back against the defense that you chose. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. All these defenses could end up putting up a 5. It is not a lock that any of these defenses will do well.
Pick the defense. If you're handcrafting, pick the defense last. That's my advice to you.
Yeah. And that's another thing. If you're going to use the optimizer, you should be very, very controlling of the defense selections. I absolutely uncheck any defense that I don't think is viable. Like if you're going up against like the Mahomes, I'm not going to say the Chiefs because Mahomes might be out next week, but if you're up against Mahomes or Josh Allen, maybe don't use the defense that's going up against that guy. Like those guys are really good and they're not going to produce a great score to an opposing defense.
Yeah.
What else can we do here, Bobbywow? I feel like we covered it all.
You want to jump over to FanDuel and build a lineup quick?
Yeah, let's take a look at FanDuel. We'll get a feel for the salaries here, and see how it goes. So FanDuel, you've got and I love this contest. FanDuel is really fun for these 2 gamers as well. You less have to dive into the turd zone. Although I don't see too much of needing extreme turds on DraftKings either. We're not going to be in that zone, Bobbywow. We're not playing Olivier.
Nah.
We're not going down to like the 4th string wide receiver. Trent Sherfield Jr. is not part of it.
We're not doing that. We're not doing that. No.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
Maybe Olivier.
Maybe what?
I said maybe Olivier.
No Olivier. Frenchman playing football. Come on. Sam Darnold, 8K, Caleb, Kirk. Actually, let me, you know what? Let's see if ownerships look any different on FanDuel. That's right. DFS Army, you got tools for FanDuel and DraftKings. Totally different. Quarterback ownership, the same.
Super similar.
Yeah, it's the same. Running back, a little less Bijan, but not that much less. I think you have a much better chance of the Algerian showing up on FanDuel with that touchdown or 2 and actually being a really key factor. I mean, it could happen on both, but like Algier can be even more of a factor on FanDuel.
And Madison, don't forget about Madison, guys. That's
man, Bobbywow with like 5 Madison mentions. It's crazy.
I hate it. I feel I'm gonna take a shower after this, but
so many Madison mentions.
I feel gross.
Yeah. Let's go back to it.
More
so you got Darnold, Caleb, Cousins, and Dez. With Darnold coming in significantly the most expensive. Darnold had a really good game against Chicago. It's in the dome. By the way, they're all in domes. We're just in good weather tonight, Bobbywow.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, it's just good weather. Everybody's on the carpet, on the fast track tonight. We could get some scores here that are a little better than you think. I really want a great game from the Bears. Let's do a Caleb lineup. I know you feel like everybody thinks you're doing Caleb. It's me. I'm controlling it. Fuck it. I want some Caleb.
You know who outscored Darnold against the Bears? Caleb did.
Yeah. It's worth a shot. So Caleb is fun to build around because it's a very strong like +2 stack. And look, they're relatively inexpensive here. I mean, you just DJ Moore, and Odunze or Allen. Can even squeeze the third one in there if we needed to.
Give me more in Odunze or more in Komet.
You like them? You're gonna go for those guys. All right, let's go Odunze here. Fine. Right. I want to play Bowers. That's why. I want to see if we can get to Bowers in this lineup. I really want as much Bowers exposure as I can get. Bowers is a prohibitive priced up player.
Man, that is FanDuel. It makes it tougher for sure.
Yeah, he's 1,500 above Hawkinson. That's prohibitive, right? That's difficult. We're gonna play Bijan. 57.50. So look, FanDuel does it better. Look at how this works out.
Falcons. Let's say you want Falcons defense, right?
I think Falcons is the best one, but I can't. This is not a lineup where I'd want to play Vikings defense. Although even that, it's still fine. 6K left. You're looking at. You want to have running backs on FanDuel. You really need 3 running backs. It would have to be something like this. Last wide receiver spot. Oh,
Mooney?
Man, you got to have Addison today.
Oh, there you go.
It didn't quite fit.
Oh, okay.
I think what the move here is to punt the defense. Just YOLO. Got 900 left from here.
Yeah.
Actually,
you could play the Bears.
Go all the way down. Yeah, like Bears, whatever. Then in the
you only got one Vikings in there.
Swift?
No.
Double TE. So this is what I can't. I'm sorry, I'm touching my face because this fucking cat. It's like let me ask you this. Normally I don't want to have anything but a running back in the flex on FanDuel. Can we make an exception on this slate?
100%.
You're saying yes. On FanDuel, yes. You're good with an exception.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. This is what I need to get to.
Because you have guys like Swift priced, similar price point to like TJ Hawkinson, right?
Yeah.
200 less.
Same.
Sincere McCormick is the same price. Hawkinson could outscore both those guys. He has before the season already. Absolutely. Don't feel locked into that 3 running backs on FanDuel.
Now, the better way to go for this lineup, we really do, like if we're going to keep it chalk, I think you want to have, I think the way it should be built, it should be Jones and Sincere like that. That's how it should go. The problem is, if you do this,
now you get dropped down on the Raiders, right?
I already have almost the cheapest defense, so there's no way. I don't know. Where am I finding this 800?
You drop from Odunze to Komet. Oh, you can't do that either. You got double.
No. That's what I'm saying. Where are you finding this 800 to make a lineup like this work? I mean, it ain't Jalen Naylor. I don't like that, right? So that doesn't seem to work.
I think you're saying goodbye to McCormick. I really do.
I'm just saying, like, the only way to make this work, so it doesn't. The only way to have it make any kind of sense, in order to do it, Bobbywow, you have to get rid of Bowers. And you have to play Hawkinson in that spot. This is what it is. There's no way to do it. You can't have the 3 running backs and still have Bowers in there. Because I already faded. Like, unless I'm missing an angle here.
But now, and now you can go to Tucker.
Yeah, I mean, I have 1,700. I can.
But
I'll
right.
get rid of this. Of course, I'm going to get rid of that and put in a good wide receiver. Fine, yeah, Addison or even Jacoby, whatever. Now I get 700 left, so now I'm maybe upgrading a defense at the end. It's not even that different, so who cares?
Right.
But like, 400 now. So I don't see a change from here. This is actually a pretty good lineup. Kind of like this one. But I guess the other way to go would be, if you drop to Algier, I guess that could work into threesome. Off of Sincere, onto Algier. Where's he? 5,900. Not that cheap.
No, he's not much cheaper.
More to spend. And again, that gives us a little upgrade somewhere else if we want it. So
Is that the gummy memory hook? Sincere to Algier?
Sincere to Algier. Can't forget that one. Caleb +3. I'm just
be
looking
careful with Caleb +3. Be careful with that.
It could happen. It's a 2-game slate that feels more DraftKings than FanDuel to me.
For sure.
This is a fun one. So I'm just going to give last thoughts on a 2-game slate, guys, and a little bit of bankroll management. I already showed you because everybody always asks me about the Dom Station. Dom Station, very simple. We're going to set up every one of these quarterbacks except for one. I think is great with 2. So I think the way we do this is we're going to set up a standard QB with no less than one WRTE, same team. And then we're going to make standalone rules for the other 3 quarterbacks. Like Sam Darnold, it's going to be no less than 2. Do we want to include Aaron Jones in stacks with Darnold? I kind of lean no, but
I wouldn't force him in. I wouldn't include him there. If he ends up in there naturally, fine, but no.
Only natural. Okay, so you go Darnold, Cousins definitely with 2, and then Dez, I'm going to leave him with 1. Caleb definitely with 2. Right? Then we're going to do the boost. QB. We're going to, WRTE, same team by 18%. I'm not going to actually do a comeback boost here. I don't need the game stacks are not a necessity for me. We allowing players versus defense. Run your lineups. Now,
right now you have 0 players.
What's that?
Right now you have 0 players. There we go.
Because I switched to FanDuel. But yeah, I'm going to allow 3 players versus defense, and that's how I'm going to run it. And
I to me, because you're boosting so much, I do not like the at least 2 wide receiver tight end. Because you could have guys throwing to the running back. It just limits too much on a 2-game slate. So I love boosting that 18-20%. You're gonna get mostly 2.
It's gonna work itself out.
I hate forcing 2. It just always ends up burning me. It feels like
I'm gonna force the 2 because I think you have to contain the damage. If Cousins is failing, I kind of want as much of my Cousins exposures with London and Mooney or Pitts contained to those Cousins lineups a little bit. So I'm looking to contain the damage, like
the difference between
contain the fallout from the nuclear implosion.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of nuclear implosions, we got drones flying overhead all day here in the Northeast.
Are you getting interference here? You got drones overhead
in the Northeast. If you're in New York, you got freaking drones flying overhead. I went out back with my shotgun last night, Bobbywow. I said, if the government ain't going to deal with this shit, I'm going to deal with it. But then nothing flew by. And plus it was freezing, and I only went outside for like 2 minutes. And I was like, it's fucking cold out here. And then went back in.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it was only like 2 minutes. But if that motherfucking drone would have flown overhead in those 2 minutes, it was going down.
I believe it.
It's going down.
Can I give you a comparison here?
Yeah.
I think forcing 2 versus just boosting a bunch is kind of like choosing to drink Sunny D over Tropicana fresh orange juice. Okay. Sunny D is still good. It's tasty. But man, it can mess you up.
Sunny D is not good.
I have a sucker for Sunny D. I don't know why.
Sunny D is horrible.
I know. But that's the point of it. That's the point for me. You don't have to force them.
It's all the
drink Sunny D. There's Tropicana in the fridge.
It's 2 of one or the other. I looked at the names of the quarterback. Like Kirk Cousins is not getting there. We can include. So the only other way to do it would be to do the +2, but include the running back. Kirk Cousins is not getting there without carrying 2 of his playmakers that he's throwing the ball to.
He's the one I agree with. Yeah. He's the one I agree with. But
Darnold can run for a touchdown. I'll give it to you. Darnold can run.
He can run for one, throw for one of Jones.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why.
Yeah. Do I have a shotgun? Dude, I got a fucking arsenal over here. You know what? I'm not going to speak any more of it because who knows who's listening. But hell yeah. That's what I do every time I win a fantasy football tournament. I'm like, oh, $1,500. Oh, not a DFS, but like a season-long league. I'm like, oh, $1,200. That sounds like how much a rifle costs. Maybe we'll go get another one.
Stop it.
Treat
yourself. Come on, treat yourself.
Hey, treat yourself. What? The other thing I wanted to talk about. The contests. Let's see here. Hang
Yeah,
on.
but
Let me
drone
scroll.
drilling into your house, like when the machines get
What's
into
that?
in the Matrix, saying
You
all
don't
this stuff
know.
out loud.
You don't know who's coming, who's listening. You have no idea. Check this out. So on FanDuel right now, if you want to enjoy this slate, but you don't want to invest a lot of money, here for a nickel, we had members win this last week and the quarter. Like, this is just regularly DFS Army people, because this nickel game right here, 5 cents, costs you $7.50 to put in 150 lineups. Now, first place is 250. Like, what do I care? It's $250. You only put in $7. Plus, you prove that you can win a tournament, right? There's no difference. The winning score in this one is going to be the same score as what wins that $15 contest. So you're going to prove that you can use the optimizer to win a tournament. Hey, you got a little more money? That's not enough action for you? All right, play the quarter game. That's 500 to first. Want to get even crazier, a little sexier? You got a dollar game here, $1,000 to first. So, you have FanDuel really does give you a wide array of very low cost tournaments that you can run 150 lineups for in a 2-game slate. I think. What do you think, Bobbywow?
I don't know. I know it doesn't, make headlines, but I don't think there's anything cooler than turning 5 cents into $250.
Yeah,
that's bad apple right there.
It's badass. I don't know about bad apple. It's good apple. It's
okay.
Fresh, good apple, tasty, right off the tree. It's a great apple. Right off the tree. You could play these games, take them down. You don't have to put a lot of well, can I send you swag? Unfortunately, the swag costs more than the takedown. We got to put you on there. But I hope that I did see the win, though. That was a pretty sweet win. And actually, it's like $1,000, I think, on JM's win because he played the bigger nickel game, the full slate, which is very impressive, guys. Those are impressive wins. The scores you're putting up are as good as what's winning the big tournaments. And I really it's very important to me, since we got past like the breakdown of the slate, to always remind you guys and everybody's watching, like, you don't want to just jump in and start plowing in $1,000 bills into giant tournaments and you've never won one. That's not how I got to the point where I was entering those tournaments, or anybody else who got Bobbywow. You joined DFS Army. It took you a couple of years. You built your way up to a player that would max out big tournaments.
It's almost like your own set of checks and balances, right? You do the $7 one with the nickel entry, you win it, boom. Now you have proven the concept and you have bankroll to move up to 25 cents. And can I keep it rolling that way? That's the best approach. Go
up to a quarter game, a dollar game, whatever you're comfortable with. The problem is when you're putting too much money into a tournament, you're scared to lose, and you're not going to do the types of, I see it in the chat. People are like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to lose. You're going to be scared to lose and you won't win because you'll be too scared to take a chance. That's the stuff you need to do. You have to throw caution to the wind. You got to play Algier with Bijan. You're like, what are you, nuts? That's stupid. It wouldn't do that. But like, that's the weird shit that can win these. You got to be willing to do stuff like that.
Yep.
I'm not saying that's what's going to win this one. And that's right. I mean, what we talk about in the Players Club every single week on Saturday, I want to almost show you this tournament. Like, it's a 50 people win $1,000 in this thing. It's a $27 entry, Bobbywow, a multiplier.
Okay.
And there are 7 out of the 50 DFS Army helmets from the Players Club that all won $1,000 this week. I'll show it to you. You know what?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I didn't even fucking win it because I had Amari Cooper. But part of what I was saying was, guys, don't just do the same exact lineup. Switch up a little bit and look. I don't think you actually can't even see it online. It's not going to, I can't see it, show it here. You have to be on the app. But we had 7 different DFS Army helmets winning that thing. So that looks like your boy's not moving on, and looks like I'm not moving on.
Say that. Oh, geez, get that off the screen.
My best ball
must have been logged into someone else's account.
Yeah, that's someone else. No, my best balls are not going to be moving to round 2 of the playoffs. After this was a horrible weekend for me, by the way, for my season and redraft. I had like 9 teams in the playoffs out of my 14 leagues that I was in, and I think I've lost every single one of them. Thank goodness for the 2 bye week teams that I have that just got past this week, like Cooper Kupp with a 0, Amari Cooper with a 0. I didn't move on for shit, Bobbywow.
Yeah, I've got first place in our league, so I had a bye this week.
Yeah, I saw you on the bye week. I saw you enjoying that bye. Staff week tattoo took me out in the staff league too. I was favored. The 0 from Cup, the 0 from Amari Cooper. You can't take two donuts. You can't double donut. You can't double donut. All right,
Saquon hurt everyone. Yeah, this is not a good week for.
We're gonna wrap it up there. We are in the final stretch of the NFL season. We're coming up on week 16, Bobbywow. I can't even believe it. Week 15 might have been our best week of the whole year with the calls and the breakdown. So I feel like the momentum continues to build. We're going to go out strong. There's a bunch of these 2-game slates coming up. Practice on this one. There's a few more coming. Got a Christmas Day slate. What's up? Merry Christmas.
This is perfect. Some perfect reps, because this is what the playoffs are going to be like. Get your reps in now.
Yeah. And by the way, that's right. This is what the playoffs are like. 2 and 3 game slates are where we live and breathe during the playoffs. Get used to. And my favorite, I like them better.
Nothing better than 3-game slate. 2-game slates are great.
You know, Bobby, when I talk to my buddies, my DFS buddies, they're all like, I just do the early only in the afternoon only. It's much easier to attack. I go, if I wasn't doing content for the full gamer, I would probably put more effort into the early and afternoon only, because those slates are much more attackable in a lot of ways, and you can leverage your ownership. Like when you leverage ownership right in those, you really benefit. Sometimes in the big slate, you kind of do something smart, fade the right guy, but like didn't matter because whoever else you played was shit. So it's much harder to benefit from things like that. So we got a lot of good stuff coming up. Wish everybody best of luck. Best of luck tonight. Let's take these contests down. I want to see DFS Army helmets at the top of those tournaments. Helmets up, everyone. Good luck.
Down, helmets up.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Big time, no man, diamonds in my teeth, I got a lot of shine.